sisters, brothers, siblings in the Episcopal Church in Northern Indiana. Grace and peace be with you in Jesus, the light for all people. Greetings, friends. I'd like to spend a bit of time in this video sharing with you a document that it's entitled Communion by Extension in the Diocese of Northern Indiana. I want to begin by reading the first few sentences from the Book of Common Prayer 1979 in the section entitled Concerning the Service, found on page 13 of the Book of Common Prayer. The Holy Eucharist, the principal act of Christian worship on the Lord's Day and other major feasts, and daily morning and evening prayer as set forth in this book, are the regular services appointed for public worship in this church. My friends, since the Book of Common Prayer 1979 was adopted, we have lived into, on a more regular basis, the understanding that the celebration of the Holy Eucharist on a Sunday has become a kind of regular experience for faith communities throughout the Episcopal Church. There are still some faith communities that also engage in daily morning prayer or evening prayer or evensong, but the principal service has become now the service of Holy Communion. We became aware of how dependent we are on the reception of communion, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic, having to make adjustments, moving all worship to online, and then slowly kind of reacclimating into public worship again. During that time, there were several bishop colleagues and myself who were talking about how might we address the issue in a more constructive way. And at this point, I want to say a word of thanks to the members of the Bishops' Collaborative that I'm honored to have been a part of and to be invited into. And several documents were shared with me that I have now amended and made some changes, which is this document now called Communion by Extension in the Diocese of Northern Indiana. The purposes are four, and I want to read the purposes to you. This document is also published now and available on the website, and I referenced it and shared it with our clergy at our January Clergy and Lay Leader Call. Purpose number one, to sustain the witness and Eucharistic charism of the Episcopal congregations when the frequency of the presence of a priest to celebrate the Eucharist is not regular. Second, to develop a fuller understanding in the congregation about the Eucharist and this is most important, the difference between celebrating the Eucharist and receiving communion. Third, to deepen a congregation's link to and understanding of the priesthood. And fourth, to engage a conversation about other aspects of priesthood besides sacramental that are missing from the life of a congregation that does not have a priest in residence or visiting on a regular basis. So the title of this document is really important. It's Communion by Extension. And I want to say, by extension means something quite intentional. This order of service, Communion by Extension, assumes that there will be a Eucharistic visitor coming from another faith community in our diocese with the consecrated elements of bread and wine. They will come to your worshiping community, whether that be in Valparaiso or in Angola or in Kokomo or in Bern, wherever they're coming to, they will come and participate in morning prayer led by a worship leader. There might be a preacher who's going to give a homily or a sermon. And at the conclusion of morning prayer, the designated Eucharistic visitor will come forward and then lead the assembly in an opening prayer and then distribute Holy Communion assisted by Eucharistic ministers in the congregation. If there are Eucharistic visitors taking communion to the homebound or hospitalized in that community, they'll receive the consecrated elements, and then they'll say a prayer together of thanksgiving, and then the worship leader will dismiss those gathered. So this service of communion by extension assumes and highlights the relationality of all of us from congregation to congregation, or faith community to faith community. We're no longer siloed, my friends. We depend upon other people bringing the consecrated elements to a faith community so that they can receive Holy Communion after morning prayer on a Sunday. So I want to draw attention to this important document. I'm giving permission for every faith community who wants to use it. It's going to be hopefully piloted in the Calumet Episcopal Ministry Partnership faith communities. And I believe that there'll be some other faith communities that will make use of this. If you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate to call me. I'm happy to come and speak about it in your faith community. I know that there's going to be some training done that will be essential to sort of work through this process and adopt it as part of our custom of receiving communion when the presence of a priest is not available. So thank you for your time and attention to this important matter. Grace and peace.